Let's check the weather for the next 5 days, and this will take us right up to the weekend, so you can make your plans a little early this week, perhaps. We do have this trough still trying to make its way through the northeast. It's already starting to fire some pretty big thunderstorms in central Pennsylvania. We're going to check the radar on these coming up shortly, and they may get more heavy rain, so they may see some flooding problems. Last night, they ended up with as much as 4 to 4.5 inches of rain in a few spots, so as you might imagine, more rain today on saturated grounds means they may get some flooding. Also, thunderstorms starting to develop around D.C., Charlottesville, back to southwestern parts of Virginia. In the deep south, pretty quiet today, actually. Just a few thunderstorms along the coastal North and South Carolina, and not even too much in Florida, so a little quieter weather there today than what we had yesterday or the day before, so some good news for Florida. Watch this front. There's not a whole lot with it at the moment, but things may start to change. As it pulls out into the plains, there's enough moisture coming around this area of high pressure and coming up to greet our front, and that is already producing some thunderstorms. It looks like tomorrow, perhaps not in the morning, but by late afternoon, there may be some strong to even severe thunderstorms out ahead of this front. Wisconsin down into Iowa, perhaps down into Kansas, and even northwest Missouri will be looking for a few isolated thunderstorms, maybe some severe weather. Out ahead of it, clusters of storms that are now in Missouri will be working across Illinois into Indiana. Western Ohio may see some rain, and it'll just be sort of hit or miss thunderstorms again in the deep south. Through the Rockies every day, we've had scattered thunderstorms. It looks like Arizona will be a little quieter today and tomorrow. Southern Utah, same story, but from Wyoming through Colorado and down into New Mexico, expect some heavy downpours here and there. Not everyone will get the heavy rain. Definitely coolest weather in the northwest, 30s and 40s overnight tonight, while the plains have been baking hot and humid weather, and it looks kind of miserable tonight if you're going to be sleeping. Notice the little dot here of the darker orange. I guess that's the Dallas-Fort Worth area, heat island effect, so they'll probably stay in the 80s tonight, while everyone else will be in the 70s. Not bad on the East Coast, been kind of comfortable recently. We'll see it warming up a little bit over the next few days, but it does not look like we'll be returning to the heat wave of July, and I think everyone's pretty happy about that. But we will see the 90s. They're sneaking up the coast there. Texas really cooking, in Oklahoma too, 100-degree plus readings and very humid weather here. A little bit cooler now in the northern plains, 70s and 80s, and the 90s trying to inch a little bit farther to the north, end of the weekend and first part of next week. Rains along that frontal system will cut across the Great Lakes into the northeast, so you start off East Coast with some wet weather on Saturday, but Sunday looks a little better. Isolated stuff in the south and more rains returning to the plains. Along the East Coast, already flash flood watches in central Pennsylvania. They had as much as 4.5 inches of rain last night. Pretty quiet again this morning as thunderstorms died down, and now they're firing up again. As a matter of fact, severe thunderstorm warnings out for Bedford County, right to the south of Johnstown as storms are moving through there. Best bet for severe weather overall, however, would be just ahead of that frontal system that's coming into the Dakotas, down into Wyoming. Even northern Colorado may see some strong to severe thunderstorms. Fortunately, a little quieter today in Florida. There are a few isolated storms around Miami and around Panama City, but not the severe weather we had the last couple of days. Strong winds ahead of the front, and winds picking up in the southwest.
For regional Michelin.
This evening, Jill Brown and Janetta Jones with you, checking on some pretty nice weather, actually. It was kind of a quiet day weather-wise, and a good day to get out and enjoy a seasonal thing, the Perseid meteor showers. Now, here are the areas that you can probably view it tonight. You have to wait till it gets dark, very dark out there. West Coast, okay. South looking pretty good. The Great Lakes, in some spots it's all right. Northeast, though, is getting some rain, and the cloud cover will keep you from seeing the meteor shower tonight. Keep your fingers crossed. You may get a chance to get out there tomorrow night, however. And some problems out here in the plains as well. If you're going to head outdoors, try to avoid the city lights. A nice dark spot out in the country should be a real good place to view. Of course, the Pope heading for Denver. He'll be there tomorrow. The International Youth Rally, and a lot of folks are traveling in. So if you're headed to Denver, take an umbrella with you. It doesn't look too bad. It will be partly cloudy, and you should see highs in the mid-80s, but there is also a possibility of some thunderstorms. This evening's weather, well, let's start off in the northeast, and it was a rough night last night. Heavy rains in Pennsylvania, and obviously tonight a repeat performance. They've had unofficially as much as 3 inches of rain, 4.5 last night, and some flooding problems have arisen. Flash flood warnings have just expired in Blair County, but it would not be surprising to see more flash flood watches or warnings issued for this area. Thunderstorms haven't made it to New York City yet. Philadelphia generally pretty quiet. The New Jersey State Fair still in good shape. Avoided the thunderstorms today, but there will be a few more around tomorrow afternoon. And a little bit closer, you can see from Williamsport to Harrison in Pennsylvania, that's where the thunderstorm, or Harrisburg, excuse me, that's where the thunderstorms are strongest, working eastward about 25 miles per hour. Let's take you a little bit farther to the south. It's been kind of a quiet day in the deep south. We could use a little more rain through here, but today was not the day for it. Just very isolated stuff through the Carolinas. Just a little bit in Georgia. I don't think much of it got north of Macon. Maybe a few thunderstorms around Augusta. Louisiana saw a few, and then even Florida. After 2 days of severe weather, quiet weather today was definitely a blessing. Just a few thunderstorms right now around Fort Myers to West Palm Beach, and a little bit of light rain around Miami. To the plains, we can't seem to escape it at this point. Flash flood warnings are out for the central part of Iowa, and you can see the strong thunderstorms coming in. We had some big ones last night in Nebraska and down into Missouri. Died down this morning and now have rejuvenated. So some heavy rains expected through here. We could see several inches. A lot of humidity in the air just feeding these thunderstorms. So big rain makers through here. Farther to the north, some thunderstorms, a front coming in, and with this we may see severe weather. There is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for parts of North and South Dakota until 10 o'clock this evening. The latest radar will show us that thunderstorms just in about the past hour or so have really developed here from Dickinson up towards Minot, and they're headed northeastward about 15 to 20 miles per hour. So we'll keep you up to date on any severe weather that we hear about in the Dakotas. Meanwhile, out west, it's a little quieter today than it was yesterday. We haven't seen as many thunderstorms, but a few strong ones from New Mexico up into Colorado. Marble-sized hail reported Salt Lake City Airport with a brief heavy downpour, and that's what you might expect. Does look like it'll be confined to northern Utah up into Idaho, South Utah, and most of Arizona. Actually expecting basically dry weather for the rest of this evening and tomorrow as well. Finally, some sunshine in the northwest, and that's helped to warm it up a little. Around Seattle, 72, still waiting to see if it'll get up into the predicted upper 70s today. It's struggling there. 109 in Phoenix, kind of a hot day with the drier weather, less humidity in the air, so warmer weather. The real hot spot, however, has been right out here in the plains. 100 right now in Oklahoma City, 100 in Dallas, and it's actually 100 degrees right now in Austin, Texas. Let's take a look at some pictures taken earlier today. The folks are really dealing with a blistering summer so far. Throughout the month of July, much of central Texas had no rain at all, so they're not really welcoming another hot month here, but 100 today, probably 100 tomorrow. The air conditioning bills and the watering bills will be very expensive when they get here. So no relief in sight. Actually, we'll see that in the long-range forecast. Let's start our forecast off with the current map, though. You can see no green on the map really throughout the state of Texas. Maybe just a few showers over around Longview. Heaviest rain, Missouri, Iowa, into Kansas, and also in the northeast. That front will really sort of take over as the main feature, it looks like, by tomorrow. And as it pulls out into the plains, that should trigger strong, maybe severe thunderstorms from Minnesota back into Iowa again and down into Nebraska. East Coast, just isolated stuff developing by late afternoon. Nothing real expansive there. Low clouds behind our front and some light rain expected, and a few isolated storms, mainly Colorado into New Mexico. Heaviest rain right through here, the areas that really could use some dry weather, 2 to 5 inches possible. And you'll see warm temperatures still staying around Oklahoma and into Texas. Let's check the weekend outlook. Our weekend outlook is sponsored by the Discover. Well, unfortunately, it looks like no relief for Oklahoma, central Texas. Not a whole lot of rain either, so hot and dry days here. A little warmer along the east coast, and it cools off somewhat in the northern plains. So 80s is about right for this time of year. Won't see any real big changes over the next few days. We will see more rain, though. That front will push through the Great Lakes, looks like on Friday, into the northeast to start your weekend with a little bit of wet weather, especially in the later afternoon hours. Looks good in the northeast for Sunday. The southeast may still be battling through a few thunderstorms, especially in Florida. Isolated stuff for a few days, but then things perhaps picking up a little bit end of the weekend. At the same time, it's isolated through the Rockies, and we may see a little bit more convection now developing in the Dakotas, maybe hit again with some strong thunderstorms and some heavy downpours that could eventually come right back into Minnesota and down into Iowa. So it looks like no relief from the rains here in the plains.
Make the most of your day on the water.